Texans also guaranteed money in Danielle Hunter's deal. A lot of extra money for Danielle Hunter, about $40 million extension for the 2027 season, all guaranteed up there. He's been one of the more productive pass rushers, and he gets paid like it as well. And take a look at all the moves that the Texans made this week, extending Danielle Hunter, extending Trent Brown on a one-year deal, acquiring David Montgomery, trading Titus Howard to the Cleveland Browns, and they're not done just yet. They'll have more major moves ahead, and maybe the next major move for the Houston Texans, and I don't think it's too early to put it on the bottom line right now. The Houston Texans are expected to sign Will Anderson to a huge new deal. I would think that would happen here at some point in the coming weeks, but that deal with Will Anderson and the Texans will get done, we would think, and he will be tied to Houston. They're not going to let one of the best players in all of football leave. They want him there for a long time, and their intent is to keep him there for a long time with a new deal on the horizon.
So well-deserved. Hold on to that guy, right? The Texans, Tim, I mean, they've been making moves. We had a whole graphic there filled up of all the moves. But have they done enough to help C.J. Stroud and the offense? Because that's been the real issue.
Well, I think Montgomery is going to be a lot of help. He's a very good back. It's why they, you think about all the free agent running backs about to hit the market. They obviously, felt good about him to make a trade to acquire David Montgomery. And that, I do think they need to do other things up front. You just look at the investments, when you look at like the Houston Texans, how they're built. Got a bunch of guys that entered into the league as first-round draft picks on the defensive line. You have any on the offensive line. And I just think that, when you do that over time, when you aren't, drafting and developing guys that you draft extremely high, then it can come back to get you if you're not, continuing to try to find, avenues to build your offensive line. He's not a guy that moves around extremely well, and so I do think that, when you look at ways they can help him, it's certainly investing in the front on the offensive side of the ball.
Tim makes 100% great points, and so I'm just going to repeat what he said, but louder, and talk with my hands while doing it. No, the offensive line is a problem. It is the problem. It's the fatal flaw. It's the reason they have a Super Bowl caliber defense, but there is no chance that they win the AFC as presently constructed. C.J. Stroud has not taken the jumps we thought he would, and part of that is bad luck. You need receiving help and receiving health in order to do that, but also it's the offensive line and it's the running game. I don't think David Montgomery is going to appreciably change this offense unless they get a rabbit out of a hat in free agency or in the draft. It's really hard to shop on the bargain bin, in free agency with offensive line help. They do not become available, and if they do, it is expensive. I don't see this offense taking a leap. It's going to be more of the same division round type of losses unless a miracle happens on the O-line.
The Houston Texans are so interesting because their trajectory was ready to explode. You have the C.J. Stroud rookie season, which was awesome, and then the second season, the following season, like they did go all in. They made moves to make that offense legit, and there was a lot of excitement, getting Diggs and whatnot. We saw how well Diggs worked with New England, but then injuries just decimated them, O-line issues, run game issues, and then that continued to snowball. Firing coordinator, right? And then more injuries, like everything just started to just snowball. I mean, it was the definition of snowballing for the offense. And it just kept going and going and going and going and going and going and going. And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating because this defense is so insanely elite. This defense is just so insanely elite. Let me say it one more time. This defense is so insanely elite, and the offense is not, and the offense is not. And I'm not going to put it on their shoulders, how he said, C.J. Stroud has failed to take, to show progress or take a step forward. And it's just like, well, it hasn't been easy. They're not exactly creating an environment. And they did seemingly go all in, I guess. What would that be? 4, right? Yeah. 24 offensively. It didn't work. And then they kind of just like abandoned that going into 25. They're like, let's get rid of everyone on the O-line. Let's not really do much to upgrade offensively. And then now this season, they're still pretty much obviously going all in on defense. I shouldn't say go all in on defense because they already got it essentially. They're just continuing to really lean on it. And here's my fear, and you see this with defensive organizations. You got to become the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you don't want to be the Pittsburgh Steelers of this decade essentially. maybe before it's all fair game, not recently. And, the Steelers never did enough to make moves offensively. And they found themselves in this circular thing where they're like, yeah, we can have some success. We can win some games. We can have some tough, gritty, physical defenses, maybe even win a playoff game. But it's just like, and to me, when we were talking about the Texans last season, it was like they can go on a Super Bowl run. This defense is legit. I mean, this defense was squashing every great quarterback out there, and every great offense was just crushing them. And the reality is all you needed was like consistent, competent offensive play. And they couldn't get that consistently. They couldn't get that reliably. And now even going out and getting a running back in Montgomery, like that's great. If you don't have a good enough O-line, you can't do anything. The Philadelphia Eagles did not have a good O-line last season. Saquon Barkley was not the same. The year before that, the Eagles had a great offensive line, and Saquon Barkley literally smashed records. Is Patrick Mahomes a better quarterback with an offensive line or without an offensive line? You tell me. You tell me. So we know how important the offensive line is. At this point, it's starting to feel like it's the most important thing a team to have. That as long as you have if you have a great offensive line, you don't even need a great running back, but your running game will still be pretty darn good. Will it be as good as what the Eagles were able to do with the Squan Mark? No. But will it be a liability? Will it be something that you can depend on? For sure, for sure. What's better? To have a Josh Allen as your quarterback, but have a terrible O-line, or to have an awesome O-line, the best O-line in the NFL, and have Brock Purdy as your quarterback? Like these are interesting things to weigh. They really are. And so yeah, when you're putting all your money and your resources into everything, but the most important thing that you potentially need to be able to take that actual step forward, right? Like that's what I don't know. And you know what's frustrating? I was both right and wrong last season about the Houston Texans, because going into 24, I was like CJ Stroud MVP candidate. Like I couldn't be any higher on CJ, and I haven't sold on CJ, to be very clear. I still believe in him. I blame all the other things that I just blamed, but going into 25, right? Yeah, 20, 25, 26, LA, this past season I said, I don't know how I feel about Houston. I was like, I don't really like what they're doing. I don't like the moves that they're making. I don't feel strong about it. I was like, I don't think they're going to be all that great of a team. I didn't say they were going to be bad, but I didn't feel good about the direction they were going in. And again, in a lot of ways, I was right and wrong about that, because their defense obviously was elite and they were able to go on a run. They were able to kind of put something together, and it was really awesome. Obviously, as you see in the screen, 12-5 winning a playoff game. But at the end of the day, I didn't like the direction that they were going in, because my whole thing with the Houston Texans and the CJ is like, I believe that if you can actually build something more sustainable offensively, then you're a legitimate, bona fide Super Bowl contender. And I mean, like, technically they were Super Bowl contenders last year, but like true bona fide side. It's ours to lose. It's ours to lose. Super Bowl contender, right? Like right now, the Los Angeles Rams are a Super Bowl contender. It's theirs to lose. The Buffalo Bills are a Super Bowl contender. It's not theirs to lose. There's a different rate in terms of being a Super Bowl contender. The Eagles in 2024, it was theirs to lose. In 25, they were contenders, but it wasn't theirs to lose. And so the Houston Texans find themselves in this, yeah, it's not ours to lose. Like, we can maybe do it. We can maybe go on a run. We can have some of these moments, which are great. But like, when you can solve the riddle of this offense, specifically this O-line, it can be yours to lose. And that is not what the Houston Texans showed last season. And I'm like, this season, it's like, I feel kind of now how I feel last season. So it's like, they can still obviously win. They can still obviously win 11, 12 games, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm waiting for the Houston Texans to become the team where it's theirs to lose. That's the lens that I'm looking at a team like the Houston Texans. And there's been enough time for that. And ironically, the Texans and the Packers, I have very similar love-hate relationships with. When I mean hate, not that I hate them, just in terms of like, I believe that they should be so much better. I believe that they should be going in this direction, and they're not. And it makes me angry. So it's a love-anger relationship. And ironically, going into 24, I'm getting all these all these years mixed up, but yeah, it's 24. I'm like CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, they're the top 2 MVP candidates going into, I remember that tape. They're the top 2. They're my picks for who's going to be competing for the MVP. And it didn't happen. It did not happen. And so, yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. And to me, this is the F. This is, I don't want to say the final year, but like, you start to miss out on a runway, and you got to do more to support CJ Stroud at this point. You kind of got to go all in on supporting him so you can really reach the conclusion, is this the guy? You don't want to find yourself in this situation where you didn't do enough to support him offensively. And then you're like, well, CJ Stroud, we couldn't win. It's time for us to move on, blah, 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 blah. And then you move on from him, and then he goes somewhere where they do support him, and he's exactly what you thought he was always going to be when you drafted him. It's a real situation, but in a weird way, it could work in the long term because maybe you keep him and you don't have to pay him as much money as if he was balling. So then you use that money and those resources to finally fortify the offense, and then it's like, let's go. That's like, definitely half glass full. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can see at the bottom, 30th in the NFL in pass block win rate, 32nd in run block win rate. You can bring in Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. That's not going to change. That's not going to magically make this all better. So like, as of right now, it's like, it's still in my love-anger relationship with the Houston Texans. That can absolutely change as the days unfold, free agency unfolds, the draft, etc. But for me, I'm looking through the Texans through this very specific lens. How are they going to finally solve this offensive riddle? I know what you can do defensively. Watching the Houston Texans play defense is one of the most exciting things in all of sports right now. And I really mean that, and I really stand by that. Watching them play, watching them go up against the Kansas City Chiefs, against the Buffalo Bills, those had to be 2 of my favorite defensive games. The intensity, the contact, the pain that they laid. Especially when the Kansas City Chief, I was just like, I felt like I was going to come out of my shoes. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh, what am I watching right now? I mean, it was just pain, and it was incredible. It was incredible. And even seeing the offense and TJ Stroud make some plays as well, but it wasn't consistent. It wasn't reliable. And that's how you find yourself in those weird, awkward, uncomfortable situations in the playoffs, which the Houston Texans have. And so that's all I can't buy into the Texans. I can't really say with my chest, this is the year, this, until they change that. And I don't think it has to be a miracle like he's saying, but it does need to be an actual focus here. And for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like it is. And that's what's confusing me, because it's seemingly like back-to-back off seasons, but you're kind of like, I guess, but like, what else you got right now? And that's weird to me. I can understand one off season because it's just the way it goes sometimes, but not back-to-back off seasons. Not back-to-back off seasons where you're like, what's the plan off? Like, what are you trying to do offensively right now? Like, what's the plan here? So that's just where I'm at. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Houston Texans? What's the plan? How do you feel about them offensively? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get to some discussions. Let's get to some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, so it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much.